on the one hand, I say he's in over his head. But I say this to you every week, and to me it's an important point, and you touched on it in the last segment, more than touched on it. It's not his fault. So the fact that he's in the job is not his fault. He wasn't ready for this. Clearly. Who could be who doesn't have any sort of experience? That's the issue.
Ground up, complete rebuild from the ground up, and they give it to a guy that doesn't even coordinate his side of the ball.
I was just going to say, had never been a quote-unquote manager in his own department, let alone a head coach.
You want to? I'm going way too far back for my examples, but I'm sorry. I'm old. Like, if you're telling me you have a good team and you want to put someone inexperienced in there to sort of oversee it and give it just what it needs on the fringes, Raymond Berry in 1985. You know what I mean, Mazz? That sort of thing. That was a ready team that had just run out of time with its coach, and Berry was no mad genius, but just sort of had the right touch with his guys. So that's where Jerod Mayo belongs. He doesn't belong with the team that has 14,000 problems, and he's got to figure them all, not even close.
I mean, really, it's an impossible task. There are extremely difficult tasks. Okay, it's not impossible. But this was a job for Bill Parcells in his prime, which is what they did in the mid-'90s. They were building from the ground up. They had a high pick in the draft and took a quarterback. They brought in a guy who had won and knew what he was doing and knew what he was in for.
No matter who was coming in post-Belichick, the standard was going to be impossible, right, because of what the expectations are. But this guy, he essentially got the job because he had a good speech on an overseas trip, and the owner liked him. That's it. He's in over his head.
That's not Gerod's fault.
No,
exactly.
It's not.
He smart guy, shrewd guy, knows how the game is played, knows how the owner wants to be touched. You know what I mean? And not physically, I'm talking
emotionally,
what touches the owner.
Yeah.
What buttons to push.
What buttons to push is what I mean. Thank you. So he knew how to push getting ahead. Yeah, it's a tough world out there, competitive environment. Whatever you can do to get ahead, gain an edge, gain an angle, get the decision makers' trust. Gerod's smart guy, got ahead in the world. It's not his fault. You blame the people that fell for it.
Exactly. It's a craft story.
So just more from Mayo post game. How about all the pre-snap penalties? Number 2, if you could, there, Kev.
The 6 pre-snap penalties in the first half. 5 on offense, 1 on defense. How much of that is a reflection just on the coaching?
Yeah. Look, it starts with me. And we've had these hiccups of games where the penalties really affected us, and it did today.
Okay, there's that. Bedard gave it a shot. Number 3 about the talent.
Jerod, on Monday you said we have enough talent in that room to win football games. How do you rectify that with falling behind 30-0?
Yeah, it starts with me. I think it starts with me and getting these guys ready to go.
I mean,
he didn't.
Well, right. So he's saying he's trying to be accountable there. I understand that. And again, he's in over his head, as 99% of the people hired who wouldn't have had any experience taking this job would have been. In some ways, there's no shame for Mayo here. The shame goes higher up.
Yeah.
How do you entrust this to people who have no experience? How do you do that?
You cut corners, I think.
Wow.
This is the line that got everyone hot and bothered. Kevin, go ahead.
I mean, look, it's always once those guys cross the white lines, there's nothing I can do for them. There's nothing any coach can do for them once they cross the white line. It's my job to continue to prepare not only them but our coaches to go out here and play better football. Thanks.
Okay, so people hated this line. Murray, you among them?
Yeah, I mean, while he technically might be right, it's another case of, dude, just don't say something like that out loud because you look like you don't know what you're doing. And because you can also coach up the players once they are over those white lines. But it's just one of those lines. And there's been more than a handful since training camp that you're like, wait, what? Why would you say that out loud? Why would you ever say that? It's a terrible look for him in terms of his leadership or lack thereof.
It just translates as lack of accountability. I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, don't look at me, man.
Once I send them out there, they have to execute it. Exactly. Don't look at me. And it's that line that Michael Lombardi has recited a million times in the last, month or whenever, that if you're not coaching it, you're allowing it to happen one way or another. So look, I understand he's trying to build relationships. He's trying to feel his way along, all of that. If that game had happened under a guy like, again, I go back to Bill Parcells because it's the last time they were in this sort of spot where it was literally building from the ground up, he would have lost his mind. Heads would have been rolling early. He'd have been all over him right out of the gate to send the message, your absence of focus and general apathy will not be tolerated. You'll be gone if you do that. And everyone's focus would be a little bit better. Mayo's just not there.
Well, and I don't know if he ever will be.
Right.
As he said by his own admission, you have to gain love and trust before you, and I can't remember the exact quote, but it was along those lines, a very sort of new age, new wave sort of way of dealing with young people, that you have to gain their trust and their before you come down on them too hard. I don't think Mayo's ever going to be the guy that sets the edge.
Probably
that
not.
Sets a hard, demanding tone. And I still think the sport needs it. I'm sorry, kids. Sorry. It's just there's some places where the expectations are going to be high and your superiors are going to be hard on you, and you just don't. You're not going to know why. You don't get to ask why. You just have to go do it and stick your nose in there. And if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. So sorry, kids. But Mayo's not that guy. So yeah, I don't know if he's ever going to be the right fit for a ground up rebuild.
It's a brutal job.
But I do feel like on that one, I'm going to give you another but. Just that last one where he says, once you get beyond the white lines, there's nothing I can do for you. I think he meant that from a player's perspective. I think that's what a player would say or should say. What a player should say, and his mindset should be, is if he's asked about the coaching not being good enough or the coaching whatever, the player says, once I'm out on the field, he can't make the play for me. That's on me. And I think if I want to give Jerod the benefit of the doubt on that one, he was answering that as a player, not as the coach. He's not the coach passing blame. He's a player saying, I should take responsibility. Now, he's saying it as a coach, so it gets read a certain way. But you know what I mean?
Of course.
I think he blurred the lines on that.
Yeah, and look, I know what he meant. But I just think the way it comes off is it looks bad. It looks bad because people take it the way it was taken. As soon as you start to say, once they're out there, it's out of my hands. The
perception's automatically don't look at me, man.
Right. And again, it's an obvious comparison and an unfair one. Do you think Belichick felt like once they went on the field, it was out of his hands?
Please.
No way.
Only when it went wrong.
Yeah.
Bad example.
No, totally. But he'd pull guys, no, we can't do this. Here's why. The good coaches, and again, forget Bill, but the good coaches will say, this happened, we can't let it happen again. So it just, and I'm with you on what Mayo meant. I don't doubt Mayo's heart's in the right place. I don't doubt it. They put him in a freaking brutal spot.
I'd say impossible.
Brutal.
Spot. Yeah.
Oh.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.